this town with the speakers loud and the radio playing old Sublime that we stole online, every verse we know. And we hadn't had a clue if we'd make it by noon or even where we'd go. We don't need a map, everywhere is home. We don't need a map, everywhere. The tank said E and we all agree that we're just too broke. Fill it back up, so we left your truck on the road with Ro. Then we found a motel with a cigarette smell, so we knew we're close. We don't need a map, everywhere is home. We don't need a map, everywhere is home. Is where I can find some peace of mind and make my own way. I don't know where I will end up, but I'll find it someday. Keep on searching, engine burning while we're turning it around. But don't get left behind on the road. But don't get left behind on the road. Don't get left behind on the road. Don't get left behind on the road. And we turn the music up when he raps about hope. We hold our thumbs high and hope someone is kind enough to give us all a ride. And we wouldn't have a clue if we'd make it by two or even where we'd go. But we don't need a map, everywhere is home. A Ford stopped on the street, said where you trying to be. We said we don't really care, we'll know it when we're there. We took on down the road, he flipped on his radio. Santeria started slow, so we knew that we were close. Home is where I can find some peace of mind and make my own way. I don't know where I will end up, but I'll find it someday. Keep on searching, engine burning while we're turning it around. But don't get left behind on the road. 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 Home is where I can find some peace of mind and make my own way. I don't know where I will end up, but I'll find it someday. Keep on searching, engine burning while we're turning it around. But don't get left behind on the road.
Hello and welcome back to the RLO Master Division. It's great to be here again. Week 2 starting up. Week 1 had some surprising results and expecting no less today. Here with Son of Jupiter. How you going, man?
Yeah, doing really good. Really excited to be here for week 2. Some big upsets happened last week, which makes this week a little bit more interesting because it means that I'm expecting a lot more of a volatile top 4 because the teams that we thought were going to go through didn't quite make the mark.
Yeah, I mean, one of the teams that didn't make even the playoffs was Cringe Society. They have made playoffs today. They're down in bracket C at the moment. But our first bracket up is actually Ground Zero versus Renegades. This should be an interesting one. Renegades has been struggling for the last little while. If you got any predictions for me there?
Yeah, it's interesting because my predictions at the beginning of the day was going to be Renegades up in that top 2, but they haven't seemed to have form. I have a feeling that the Christmas break's not been really kind to most of the teams because I know just from talking to a few people, scrims are really hard to come by, and you know when you're kind of warming back up after that Christmas break, that New Year's break, obviously some of your structure, maybe some of your efficiency does go out the window, but I'm hoping that since last week was a little bit unpredictable, that this week our stronger teams will shine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, Renegades being one of your predictions for top 2 today. Same for me. I actually, Renegades have had a little bit of a iffy week last week, but I figured it's RLO. Anything can happen, especially when you're the Renegades. I put Renegades as my number 1 prediction, but I also put Ground Zero as my second prediction. That's already out the window because our first matchup today is Ground Zero versus Renegades. They didn't have a great last game in the group stages. If you're the community casts by either Yummy or Max Formal, definitely some upsets there. One team dropping out entirely due to connection issues, and then Renegades, I think, dropping to Team Fenrir there as well, fairly substantially. So, yeah, looking at their performance is going to be interesting throughout this next match.
Yeah, this match could definitely be a grand final match. It's very unfortunate that they happen to be rostered in the same bracket because, these teams do fight really, really strongly. They're always considered to be one of the top 2 teams in our region. So having them fight so early on definitely impacts their weeks going forward because obviously the points do get distributed based on where you finish. And, there's no second chance here. So someone's going to be walking away in a 4th place and potentially losing a lot of points here.
Yeah, well, when you're looking at Ground Zero, who historically have been fantastic throughout the winter season, obviously not winter for Australia, but winter throughout the Rocket League scene, generally being that it's an American esport, it's very different for Ground Zero to have to go against somebody who maybe is having even issues at this point. I guess Ground Zero is expected to do extremely well with that history on their side, and they have already been doing very, very, very well. ESL, they showed up and won flawlessly there, so Ground Zero, huge expectations there, and maybe a little bit of even a question mark on Renegade's side. So we expect this to be an even match, but with recent history, it may actually not be. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I reckon it's going to be which team has had the best, I guess, preparation, who's done the most work, who's gone back to look at where they fell short last week to make adjustments this week. So it's going to be a real tale of who is going to put the work in to try and get past this next stage, because like you said, these two are the two juggernauts that, clash quite regularly, and depending on obviously when they do clash, obviously one does move further away from the other. Recently, we've seen Ground Zero be a little bit stronger than Renegades, but Renegades still has that consistency. They've been the most consistent roster for a very, very long time with 0 changes to their roster, where Ground Zero's had a lot more. So it's going to be, I honestly can't put my hand on this one whether Ground Zero or Renegades going to take the lead.
And of course, taking into consideration Renegades was playing with a sub last week as well. Anyway, moving on, we've talked enough about Ground Zero and Renegades for now. We will see them in a moment. Let's have a look at the general rankings for everybody. Let's take a look at that. Looking at our top, what's that? I don't even know. We've got so many even placements here. Having a look at these top teams from the Direwolves down to the Renegades at the bottom of that green section there at the top. Direwolves at the top right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously looking at Direwolves and Solicit being, one of the teams that kind of broke through, who, probably wasn't expected to get to where they did, but obviously having a good run and a couple of other factors, like you said, internet issues for Ground Zero and Renegades having a sub, obviously very, very fortunate week for them, but now it's a situation that they need to hold that lead. They've got a really good start. They're 20 points clear of pretty much everybody else except for the Direwolves, so they can really try and grind for that. And then now that Direwolves have to, just hold that lead, play solid. We know that the team is very mechanical and very creative. They just need to put everything together on the day.
Solicit being number 2, you mentioned haven't made it into the playoffs this week. I was asked earlier yesterday that who I would put in my top 2. I almost wanted to say Solicit. I love seeing newer teams that I haven't experienced as much, but Solicit was doing really, really well. Came in second last week, but haven't made it this time. This time around, all of the big boys are here, and we've got 2 of them right now, starting up in 3 seconds.
Yeah, the first game is going to be Ground Zero on the blue side and Renegades on the orange. Obviously, Kami, Siki, and CJ. CJ for Renegades, Amphis, Torsos, and Express for Ground Zero. So already a couple of pot shots here for the Renegades, just starting to put that pressure on their lead.
Kami on this now. It's good to see them with this aggression. It means that they possibly haven't let their previous loss affect their momentum too much, their mindset coming into this. They have their confidence on them and are looking to start this in a big way. CJ can't quite push it through though, and Torsus comes back, bumps Kami, but Siki will be able to recover in time and hits that well high Amphis down to CJ.
I'm liking the rotations here from Ground Zero. They're rotating pretty efficiently at the moment. They're controlling the space and the ball quite well, and that's leading them to keep this constant pressure.
Express now out to midfield. Amphis is there to take it, going to send it high as CJ gets onto that backboard. The defense is there already. It's good to see this going back and forth. It is the kind of game, at least in this opening minute, that you do expect out of these two teams. Fairly even, but both of these teams do seem to be being cautious right now. Possible shot! Torsos will make it work, as just defense is not available.
I think Torsos here did a bit of a mind play here as well. He feathered that boost really nicely to create the illusion that he had boost to work with. Like, that's why you saw both the Renegades players dive into that top corner, and then he just let the ball drop. So a bit of a mind game there, but great execution from Torsos.
Kickoff goes to Siki. Torsos now downfield as CJ gets up on this. Now stubs that out on the wall as Amphis takes control backboard. Torsos will send it up high and take control himself. It's a good way of making sure that nobody else can get a hand to that, but it does eventually go back to the Renegade side for control.
Ooh, nice bump there by Amphis. Took the dribble away from Siki, but the pressure's still on for the Renegades. Torsos tries to make that touch, does get it, but Siki again in a great spot, trying to get that in the field, but can't quite get it, but the pressure's still there for Renegades. They take a shot, a nice block by Express. It is a little bit open. He tries to get past when he got it. He faked out Kami, and that should be the goal for Torsos. And Ground Zero broken away with a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, second goal going to Ground Zero. And starting to pull away with a little bit of confidence. Still 3 minutes left in this though, so they can't let it rest just there. But it is a good start, and it's got the ball rolling for them. Renegades now have to be looking at this and making sure that they don't make the mistakes that they did in their last series.
Ooh, that almost trickled in there by Express. Again, pressure just being mounted here by Ground Zero. Very good control of the field. You're seeing Renegade just being pushed back a little bit more comfortable with their rotation, allowing Ground Zero to keep this heavy attack.
Kami demoed may open up the field a little bit here as Kami gets back in time, gets up there, clears it out. Memphis now will send that across to Express, goes to backboard. Torsos maybe mistiming that squishy save a little, but doesn't matter as his teammates cover for that. Up to the backboard again, actually a defensive touch this time as the pressure does mount on Ground Zero, but doesn't look like it's enough. Kami's actually going to have to run back and reset with this as the pressure switches sides.
There was a good opportunity here for Renegades, but they're just unfortunately not able to control the ball as well. And like I said, Ground Zero controlling the field very, very well. Amphis, great early challenge there to strip the ball away from Renegades, and that allowed Torsos to get that third.
Yeah, great stuff out of Ground Zero so far. They've been very consistent as a team, and it looks like they're going to be able to keep it up. They've just been unfazed so far, even when in the face of some quite a substantial pressure from Renegades starting to come on again now as Siki passes off that backboard. Kami available, will send it in. A bump on Express, but blocks CJ in that process. Now CJ trying to open up the goal, is able to do so as Siki finally makes the first goal happen for Renegades with a minute 44 left on the board.
Some great chaos there for the Renegades. It was not a very clean play, but they managed to maximize that. CJ, great awareness to turn there and give that 1-on-2 situation for Siki. There almost was a block there, but Siki has just placed it well enough to get in.
Very even kickoff here, could go either way. Kami will make good use of it. It was actually an open net. He just went a little bit too narrow for that missed goal, and now it's back on the defense for Renegades. Good shot, blocked by CJ right way now. Torsos takes it to the wall. Gonna look to pass that in. Express, good shot, and Siki will come across the top half of that goal. Make a great save there. Good opportunities opening up now for Renegades. Another great touch just wide off that top corner, and possibly the attack starting to falter again for Renegades now.
Siki still has the ball moving forward. This is a good opportunity. They just need to try and collect this boost and stop the ball from getting halfway. We see that with Kami. Gets to Siki, puts on the back, trying to get that redirect, but can't quite get it. And now time and space has been given to Ground Zero. They're going to try and put a shot on. Amphis nearly sneaking that one away, but Torsos will actually keep the attack going.
Kami in behind Express. Pinches out to Siki. Good play. Not sure it was perfectly calculated, but you have to expect it when the players are this caliber. They can do something like that consistently, and Siki makes it look good.
He made it look very, very good. Right place, right time, but a bit unfortunate there for Express to catch the ball the way he did. He probably wanted to have it move forward rather than stop and kill all its momentum, so just a bit unfortunate there, but still a 1-goal lead for Ground Zero with 30 seconds on the clock, so definitely plenty of time for Renegades, but they'll have to play carefully, Ground Zero, because Renegades are looking to pounce.
Torsos now coming off that backboard. Good control, but Siki will read him well. Actually, an open net opportunity. CJ can tap it down, but Express is available. Nobody to cover it after that point, and Siki can sink it well.
Yeah, just unfortunate. Then demo actually going in favor for Renegades, and Anthers could not get back to that rotation, and it's that chaotic play from Renegades that really works in their favor.
Going very well now for Renegades, able to even this off. Looks like maybe they've been able to identify what their problem was and pick something here, but first game looking as even as you would hope these two teams would be. Siki, another shot actually makes it work with 2 seconds left on the clock. Renegades go up by 1.
Siki is coming out huge in this match. He's got 4 goals to his name, definitely showing why he got put down as the MVP for an RLCS season a few seasons back. Super clutch moment there, stealing the lead away with 2 seconds.
Our Renegades' huge first win after a disappointing start to that match. Just came back in such a massive way, able to get that bumping pressure out there and really open up that net a little bit more. The setups became good. Little bit of misfortune there for Ground Zero as well. Did contribute, of course, but Renegades definitely pushing back in a big way.
Oh, huge. Considering that Ground Zero was able to take a very strong early lead, Renegades just keeping that aggression, trusting their formation, and not changing too much. And that really contributed to how they were able to bounce back. You saw Siki, again, I pointed out, 4 goals from 6 shots. Super efficient with his scoring. But he did have a lot of support there. There's a couple of demo goals that did work out in his favor. And that brilliant last shot at 2 seconds just to seal the deal.
Yeah, just getting that 2-second remaining goal there did confirm it for Renegades. I'm sure they'll be coming into this one with a lot more confidence than they had in that last one. They definitely started trying to look strong, but it did crumble fairly early there for Renegades. They brought it back, and now they should be able to come into this one with the real deal. And a good win there to bring it through.
Already they're picking up where they left off, taking the possession early. That was a good pass there by Express. Amph's a little slow on the touch, so now Renegades can set up a very dangerous attack, although pass was a bit heavy. Siki having to do a lot of work to make it work for his team, and it will eventually get cleared out.
Double commit makes an awkward opportunity there for Ground Zero. They'll be able to take it well as all 3 members of Renegades scramble to try and get back to that goal in time. Nobody able to get there, and Torsos just threads the needle in. That's not the way that Renegades wants to start this second match.
Definitely not started the same way it did in the first, but we know that they were able to come back, so still good signs for them. I do want to give a little trivia point here. We've only had 2 goal scorers, 1 for each team, Torsos and Siki, scoring every single goal in this series so far.
Ooh, Kami trying to get that spike down the goal off the pass from CJ. Really good setup there. Difficult thing to make work though. Siki, opportunity is Express. Just comes through in time. Off the backboard now. Amphis puts it to safety and takes it himself up the wall. Trying to get it over Siki. Does so with some aplomb as Kami comes through now. Tries to get that as it bounces off wall. Can't quite get there in time. CJ now. Express up the wall to Amphis. Back looking for Torsos. Kami can get there first though, and it will settle in midfield once again.
Some really good passing plays here for Ground Zero. They're trying to be creative. The one thing that gets me a little bit worried is how often they're trying to catch and control the ball. We're seeing Renegades being super aggressive. They're challenging these balls really quickly. I don't think it's going to be too grateful for them to try and catch and control this ball too often.
CJ just feathering that boost nicely. Kami will come into this. It's going to go up. Come down well. Torsos takes control brilliantly though. Looking to get this past CJ. Shouldn't be too much of an issue, but CJ does very well to make use of his positioning there. Torsos up, looking for the double touch. Actually has the angle, but Siki's there too early for him.
Oh, ran out of boost there. Yes! Let's go. Amphis taking advantage there. Express just running out of boost at the last second, but that was enough to cause Renegades to stay on the ground flat-footed. You see CJ trying to go for that squishy save, did not have the read on what was happening, and was exploited by Amphis.
Yeah, Amphis really making use of the opportunity presented, and now, once again, this scoreline looking very similar to Game 1. However, you don't want to be in Renegade's situation where you have to pull off that comeback each match. They're going to want to get onto this early while there's still only a 2-point lead here and negate that quite quickly.
Yeah, that's the one thing that Ground Zero got to keep in their mind is they had the lead in Game 1. Now they have to try and hold the lead here in Game 2. If they get too advantageous, if they try and push too much, they could potentially be vulnerable to a really strong Renegade's execution.
Amphis, good control, loses it just at the last moment, almost able to redirect it in though off that pass from Express. Amphis up again now. Kami, good defense, will take that out from the corner. Gets another touch to Siki. Siki might be able to center here. 2 players up though. This is a dangerous position for Renegades to be attacking from. I know they need to make gains on this 2-0 deficit, but not the way to do it.
Yeah, you have to be careful when overcommitting. Luckily, Ground Zero did not have a lot of boost and now coming back from rotation. So that is the time where you want to press. You want to try and lock this ball in your half. But you can see that Ground Zero being really good at executing their clears to try and clear this attack.
Express. Big boom downfield. Torsos tries to take a shot, goes a little high, comes off backboard. Still the attack is on. Flip reset doesn't really do much for Express there. Siki will get it actually past Amphis, looks for the 50. This could be the setup that Renegades needs to turn this around. CJ with the pass in. Express will get that first though, and carries that back out to the midfield.
Amphis continuing to play, but Kami's there, red. CJ, long clear, but he's just giving away possession to Torsos. Siki is trying to put a dunk in. It does manage to get one, but Express again there and waiting. Ground Zero doing really well on the defensive rotations. Even Torsos there, great second touch to push that forward, and the demo comes through. Beautiful play.
We saw the bump players come out of Renegades last match, but not so much out of Ground Zero. Tried to take that game very cleanly. The demo is forced out of them this time to make sure that they can continue gaining on that lead, and it works well for them. Opens up the net very, very nicely on that right-hand side and just used beautifully.
Yeah, it's one thing that I always try and point out is not to pull yourself out of the play completely. You see, Torsos didn't have a chance to get a touch on the ball, but still made an offensive play by getting that bump or demo. So you need to be really aware of that when going for those rotations.
Siki now. Takes it slow, actually gets it past Amphis, and really nice play there to make use of what looks like possibly an error coming off that wall there, but doesn't turn out that way. Kami now looking for the pinch clear as the pressure continues from this very dominant Ground Zero team this game. With 20 seconds left on the board, it seems like it should be undoable for Renegades to come back this time around, and maybe Ground Zero just finding the redemption from that first game that they needed.
Yeah, definitely. I think that this game has been a massive tell of what's to come. You know, they had 3 goals in the last game, but they weren't able to work defensively as efficient as what Renegades were towards the end. This time round, though, defense on point, striking still well executed. A little bit more evenly split here as well. We saw each member getting a goal, and that's a really good team spread. A lot more team-oriented play.
Yeah, Express being the main defender there, 3 saves on that though, but in saying that, so much midfield play there, really a lot of possession change going on that game, but all of the usable possession going to Ground Zero quite quickly. It's definitely a good sign for them in this series, but it is an even series at this point, so they're going to have to work harder than they have so far to continue that lead to rise up over Renegades in this series.
Now, one thing we have to mention, everybody, is it is a best of 5. So now with an even scoreline, there are only going to be at most 3 matches playing. So this next win could potentially be a crucial one because it moves that team into match point, and that's a very dangerous situation, especially against these 2 teams who are very, very strong competitors.
Coming in, Torsos reads him well and blocks. Will take that boost in midfield as the ball comes down. Kami can't quite find the touch to center that, or maybe redirect it himself as it goes back out to midfield. Amphis chasing Kami over him. Out to Siki. Good play. Could come down into a good position, but Kami can't quite get the touch he needs to center that.
Oh, great cut there by Torsos. That was going to be a dangerous shot there by CJ with Torsos. One thing that he's really known for is having that awareness on when to cut and when to put that pressure on, and he saved Ground Zero there.
Absolutely, and it would have actually been the first goal to come out of Renegades as the first of a game, so good to not let that stat go, I guess, from the Ground Zero side as well. So Amphis now going to get under this as Kami takes control of that ball. Siki, maybe not the communication, doesn't matter as that just floats downfield, comes in looking harmless, but with nobody able to get back in time. That's going to be the first goal going to Renegades.
It's a bit unfortunate there because you don't expect a shot to come as direct as what Kami went for. You normally expect a long clear down the line and then your teammate to try and come through. So there's good awareness by Kami to go for the shot instead of the pass.
Absolutely right. I especially don't expect it at this level where you see these players having to work so hard to get these goals, something like that. Torsos using his mechanics, reading that backboard beautifully.
That was insane. The speed that he had to travel at to beat Siki to the first play. Then he read the roof bounce off the backboard. Well done by Torsos. Brings his team back after conceding the goal.
Now Siki looking to go for another one quite early. Tries to waterfall that down as Express makes the clear that was necessary to take them out of danger there. A bump on Renegades will open up the net. Opportunity arises as Siki makes it back just in time.
That was lucky that Siki was there because Kami did get bumped quite heavily, so he was completely out of the rotation. Unfortunately for Ground Zero, they weren't able to fully take use of that, but they are still continuing this pressure. We're seeing Express now putting on the backboard. Amphis going for bumps in goals, just causing some havoc on the goal line.
Now Kami, good touch to get that up high, but Torsos did well with it high last time. Looks like he can beat him there again as Amphis now takes that as a pass. Sends it midfield. Express, great shot, just beats out CJ, and will take one back.
I was actually a little bit worried there. We had Amphis' POV there where he didn't have a lot of boots to work with. He still managed to get in the right position for that pass by Express, and just a beautiful execution on the shot.
Not the situation Renegades wanted to be in. They actually started this one on top for the first time, and now they're down by one once again. And not what they want to see at all. They wanted to keep that lead as long as they could, and it hasn't lasted all that long at all. Siki will get that to the backboard though. Opportunities now. Amphis demoed, and that goal opens up a little. Kami will get actually a really calculated touch to the ceiling, but nobody comes up for that second touch.
Oh, Amphis putting it in a really good spot. Torsos with the follow through, and he seals the deal. Unfortunately, Siki could not get to that fast enough, and that is just a very nice team play there by Ground Zero. A little bump there by Express as well, just put Kami that little bit further away from the goal line.
Renegades just doesn't seem to have the communication within their rotation to keep up with Ground Zero right now, and it seemed to be a fairly consistent error that Renegades has been making in the last 2 weeks, but now it's showing, and they're starting to suffer as they possibly look at going down to match point. They have 2 minutes to even this still, but Express with saves like that will make it harder.
I think the thing for Ground Zero at the moment is they're playing with full confidence. You can see the way Torsos is approaching every single one of these challenges. He's in there to win. He's playing very, very smart. You see just the way he played that last play where he got past the defender on the outside of the wall and then went for the 50 to put it in. Very smart play.
Yeah, it's definitely the mindset within Rocket League and most esports, I'd venture to say, is such a contributing factor to how games turn out, especially when they're so well matched like these two teams are. I mean, the players on these two teams know each other unbelievably well as well, so bringing positive and very confident attitude into this is definitely an advantage, and Ground Zero seems to be bringing that. They're getting peppered right now, though.
Torsos, again, just cutting in the right position at the right time, could see the awkwardness of the play. There is a massive bump down to Express, who was the last defender, and Renegade's able to open up for that second goal. But just bring that point back, Torsos just making a lot of plays for his team.
Finally, the communication goes right for Renegades there as well. I mean, CJ would not have gone for that if he wasn't called for. I have to believe that. The bump comes out beautifully, and CJ just nails that. Pre-jumped it well before the bump was pulled off, so the confidence within his teammates really pulling them off that goal.
Oh, that's a bit of an awkward touch there by Ampus. It forces the third man to commit, but luckily there wasn't a rotation there for Renegades to take full advantage. Nice infield pass there, and CJ does bid it out, and Siki will take control of the ball. Torsos shadowing, trying to get it past, but Siki, beautiful second effort. Unfortunately, just no one there to support from the Renegades.
It's always a little crushing to see that exchange where one player just does something so well and it cannot be followed up by a teammate. However, now they still need two with 30 seconds left. That opportunity closes very, very quickly if it hasn't already. Big clear downfield by Express. Kami sends it. CJ down to Siki. Good play. Should be able to score, but Express is just a miracle worker. Comes through from the side of goal there and just takes it away.
He has been defensively sound this entire series so far. He had the most saves on the field in the last match and is again coming through with clutch saves. Unfortunately, there is one that sneaks away there from ground zero. Renegade just getting some sneaky angles there. Great pressure there by Siki as well just to get that extra touch and the follow through. The man just did it all himself. They're really trying to put his team on his back.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. I mean, we haven't seen an 8-second goal off of kickoff out of Renegades so far. That's not to say it can't happen. It's definitely looking less like it is if Amphis does something like that. What is that passing play from Torsos to Amphis?
I think the question is, what is that pre-flip by Amphis?
Yeah.
That angle, it was absolutely insane. Well played.
I don't know how you get to that first, but Amphis, the miracle worker he is, brings that home with a 2-goal lead instead of 1. That last 8 seconds did produce a goal, but not for the right team if you wanted to see an overtime in that match.
Yeah, just a bit unfortunate for the Renegades. They started to build some momentum, but it was a little bit too late. They didn't have the opportunity to, start mounting some strong offense. Again, I want to put the point out there. Express has been a defensive monster. 10 saves out of 12 for ground zero. You can see on the screen right now, definitely coming in clutch with a lot of those shots because we do see Renegades shooting quite heavily. They actually have an equal shot scoring to ground zero, but the biggest difference maker is Express in that backline.
I just say CJ with that game-topping 11 shots on goal right now, only 1 goal coming out of that. He's got to have some frustration on him right now, and that can really affect you going through a series of games. If you've been shooting and nothing sinks, it starts to really weigh on you, and your shot quality can deteriorate quite quickly as well, and it becomes even less likely to shoot one on target. But I mean, he has had a lot on target. It's just been ground zero's unbelievably good defense coming out there, and most of that, like you said, has to go to Express. Unbelievable work from him.
Yeah, you have to give credit where credit is due. A couple of those shots, if Express didn't get the touch that he did, would have been definite concedes. Renegades did have the positioning very well. They've been controlling the space of the ground very nicely as well, but Express just getting those touches that he can follow up quite quickly and move the ball into safety. Oh, what a play by Amphis.
Amphis does use the wave dash to try and get that forward, possibly over somebody. Not going to happen. Great shot by Express, will be blocked by CJ though. Some very, very high octane action happening in the first opening seconds of this one.
Yeah, definitely. And there's even a bit of a fake there that Torsos will follow through on his own. Ground zero just at the moment adapting really, really quickly to the play.
Yeah, Siki gets bumped away from that as that fake comes out, drops down low enough and just snuck in. That's a good way for ground zero to start this, and they are on match point now, so if they can hold this lead, they will take the series.
Yeah, it's going to be really good for them, but for Renegades, it's still definitely not the ending. They have a lot of opportunities, but they'll need to stop the team of ground zero, because at the moment, they are scoring machines.
Yeah, we saw the aggression in that opening match start on the Renegades side, but now the bumps and demos are coming strong out of ground zero. That opened the net up wide. That was a pass and a bump in one, and works out very, very well when you can use your positioning to the absolute maximum effectiveness, and that really, really brought that goal to life.
Oh, for sure. And the one thing that I want to point out is how aggressive ground zero have been playing since game one. That first game, they were aggressive and to a point where they did score a lot of goals, but they weren't going for those bump plays. They weren't going for those really game-changing rotations. Now they're adjusting really nicely, and Renegades haven't caught up, unfortunately.
Now Renegades looking to bring this back by one. Almost a pinch there as Siki and CJ getting in each other's way a little bit, actually. Siki now up, looking for that backboard. A little bit of a slow touch. We'll let Torsos get to that quite quickly. CJ now can take that out to midfield. Should go to Kami. Does. Actually bounces well. Could have been a shot if Torsos had not gotten that quickly. Siki again out to the corner. Great touch, will center, but just these slow centers not working for Renegades right now.
Yeah, their rotations don't really equip themselves enough to be in that position to get those passes. We're seeing them having the opportunities, and they will definitely take advantage of that open net. This is actually the first time that we saw a pass hit a target that was, damaging. We saw a couple of infield passes there where Renegades didn't have a body ready to receive. This time, though, Siki in a perfect position to get that goal.
We have seen Renegades take a runaway like that before, but like you said, it's that passing play that sets that one apart. The infield pass, or upfield pass, I should say, maybe. Siki will even the game with a second one, though. Actually, some really good pressure on from Renegades off of that kickoff. Kami centering that beautifully. CJ comes through for the demo, and just all three members of the team working very hard for that one.
I wonder if I've unintentionally cast the curse to hit, because I feel like I said that they weren't being aggressive, and now we're seeing a lot of demo plays, a lot of bump plays coming out of Renegades, and we're starting to see those labors pay fruit. We're starting to see them have a lot more success.
Always happens. It is the caster's curse, but you have to assume that once you get to the levels these players are at, they can identify the mistakes that they're making and try and make fixes at the very least. But oh my goodness, how does Amphis get this angle off the bump and the pass? What is happening to Ground Zero?
That, you can't even put that into words. The timing is so lucky. And I'm going to use lucky here rather than fortunate, because Amphis had no intention of going for a shot there. His entire gameplay was, I need to get a bump, I need to cause some confusion, but then he just falls in the right place at the right time and gets the breakaway goal again.
Yeah, I mean, I said pass. It might have been a bit of a loose terminology there, but Amphis, what a shot. When he was given the opportunity, he was able to make the most out of that, and does bring Ground Zero up again and put them in position to win the series, but there's still half a game left, and they're only up by one. They need more than this, as finally Renegades seem to pose more of a threat than maybe they have in the last two games.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very interesting. This game 4 is so volatile, and you can see both teams fighting tooth and nail for this, because it means so much. Obviously, for Renegades, they need to get this game to push it to Game 5, and for Ground Zero, they're going to knock out a huge portion of the competition in the quarterfinals.
CJ and Express just playing ping pong back and forth there a little bit. Siki will get that bump on CJ, will cost them possession as Amphis gets that up to Torsos. Good pass infield to Express, but that'll go very high out to CJ, and Kami should be able to continue that clearing out downfield.
Torsos taking the ball, moving it upfield. He's going to actually wait and drop it on the ground, which is a nice choice. Nice pass there, but Amphis a little bit too eager to get that infield. And this is where Ground Zero now. We're going to try and capitalize on some opportunities. Nearly Express pulling out some mechanical goodness, but it does get saved by CJ. They still have the pressure, though. You can see Torsos trying to go for infields just to create that separation from him and the Renegades.
That backboard shot showing that Ground Zero isn't afraid to go for those solo plays either. They've been fantastic as a team. Almost gets the bump. Amphis only barely getting to that. That was an opportunity for Renegades that just couldn't quite be taken. CJ smacks that away from danger. They were in it, and now, once again, with 48 seconds, the pressure's on for Renegades to get that one goal.
Yeah, this is probably the closest they've been in terms of the scoreline for quite some time. We saw in the last two games there was a much larger scoreline that they had to try and get back into. This one is right in their grasp. They have 30 seconds. They have possession. They just need to try and make a play now. See, CJ, unfortunately, giving away possession there. It does allow Siki to come through, but this is where Renegades need to try and put something on.
Kami trying his best to get that to a center, but a little bit too much as he gets to that and booms it high. Now he has possession again in his own corner. Will carry this out himself. Good pass downfield. CJ went for the bump instead of to take that pass. And now with 5 seconds left, possession on the side of Ground Zero. They need something to change. It will not. And Ground Zero will take our final game.
I have something that I think I've figured out for the Ground Zero boys, and why they're so good is one key word, and that is recovery. The one thing that I'm seeing from Ground Zero, their recoveries, the way they're able to keep themselves relevant as they're recovering is top notch. And that's what's really separated them from the Renegades. Is perfect example is Amphis. He recovered into a position where the ball fell into his lap for a goal. And we've seen Torsos do the same thing, where he looks completely out of the play, but he's recovered enough just to get that second touch.
Gotta say, Renegades doing quite well with their 2 goals, considering they only had 3 shots for that entire game. Ground Zero taking a lot more than that. Let me count that up. I think that's 9 shots for that game, and only 3 goals out of it. So they've done extremely well to bring that game so close, but it wasn't enough. Ground Zero has done unbelievably throughout this entire series. You talked about the recoveries. I think you're absolutely right. Renegades didn't make an enormous amount more mistakes than Ground Zero, but they weren't able to reposition when they made them quite as quickly. They weren't able to get back and cover themselves, and possibly just costing them that series there. Unbelievable series regardless, and looking forward to more of Ground Zero. They have been huge in the Winter Series so far, and looking like they will be again.
Well, the thing to kind of factor in is last week they were out from technical issues. It wasn't even so much, being beaten in the game. They just weren't able to play. Like, they weren't able to show up. So this is them just proving that, when they are at full strength, they are a force to be reckoned with.
Yep, and they were at full strength today. It was a close matchup, and Renegades, especially within the RLO scene, you never know what's going to happen with Renegades. Ground Zero, so strong today, but we'll see more of them later tonight. But for now, we will take a short break and be back with you for the next series. we're back and ready to go. We've got our next bracket up. Have sent Ground Zero through to face Direwolves, who faced Vertex last bracket round.
Ooh.
And yeah, Direwolves versus Ground Zero should be an interesting one. The other bracket down lower is Cringe Society versus Team Process as well.
Yeah, I guess the one thing to point out against these matches is Direwolves Vertex going 3-1. Cringe Society Mind Freak going all the way to Game 5 with Cringe Society breaking away. So Mind Freak, something that we have to consider is they are a strong contender here. I feel like if they did get a little bit of a nicer bracket, we could potentially see them moving up in the future. And then Team Fenrir, who actually placed pretty highly last week. I think they made it into the semifinals last week, getting beaten 3-0 by Team Process, who, by a little fact as well, Team Process knocked out Forbidden Gaming, who was also a semi-finalist last week. So Team Process is having a monstrous week at the moment.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Team Process, that's Baked Potato, CJM, and Matro, and the sub Laxon. So yeah, CJM particularly, probably the only name I really know well there. I have heard of Matro, I've seen him a little bit, but CJM's probably the name that I've seen come up the most in that team. Going up against Cringe Society, though, that's a big name team.
It is, definitely. I think it's going to be probably, I guess, their first real test. I guess, you know, Team Fenrir have had a lot of success recently, so they have still been one of those teams to keep an eye out for, but Cringe Society just has been that consistency for quite some time. Doesn't matter what kind of roster they've had. They have some very strong names in Drupe, Jules, and of course Deca. So, you know, a very strong team to consider. But the game that we're actually going to focus on is going to be a huge one because Direwolves were our winners last week. They placed first. So this for them is going to be their ticket into holding that #1 spot. If they do fall short, that's going to massively open the door for Ground Zero to swoop in.
Absolutely. Putting a capital point on what I was trying to say there. I should point out, though, that Team Fenrir were actually the team in group stages that took out Renegades. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 3-0. So Fenrir was really on top of things coming into this bracket, and Team Process to go 3-0 against them is a very good sign if they were playing at the same rate they were against Renegades. So now, coming up against Cringe Society, can they do it again?
I just had a quick look at the bracket. It was 3-2 to Fenrir, so they knocked them out in Game 5. So still a hard slog match, but yeah, for them this week, unfortunately, they do not make it past the quarters. But it is going to be a strong match up on the other side of the bracket. The interesting thing for me is going to see what Direwolves bring to the table against Ground Zero. We've already seen Ground Zero be really solid. Obviously, our highlight player is Express. Defensively, he was really strong. I think towards the end there as well, he actually had the most shots on the side for Ground Zero as well. So, you know, he's very well rounded at the moment. And then you've got Torsos and Aphis, and we talk about the recoveries they had, always keeping themselves relevant in the game. So they're going to be a tough team to go up against compared to Direwolves. But, you know, looking at their team, you know, Misty, Fiber, and of course Zen, there's some big names in that team, and it's going to be interesting.
Absolutely, and Direwolves have done very well historically as well, with Zen and Fiber being a particularly good matchup there. I know Fiber is now, I believe Fiber is now the sub, but Vive coming in there, and that three-man team has always been something that some of the bigger teams have struggled with, in particular. Actually, maybe not as consistent as some of those big teams, but they definitely have been a thorn in the side in the past.
Oh, definitely. They've kept themselves relevant for quite some time. You know, they've always been a name that has stuck around, whether it's been with Direwolves or with Gaming Gamers or any other kind of, I guess, org that they've been represented by. In the past couple of seasons, they have always kept themselves very relevant. The thing was always just trying to find a way to gel, to incorporate both their skill in the gameplay in terms of their mechanics and a solid rotation, so they're not being exploited, you know, every single time that they try and go for a play. So I feel like this roster, especially since Misty has joined in, has really kind of escalated their foundation. They've been able to get to that next level more consistently.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if that consistency carries through. Now, Direwolves versus Ground Zero kickoff coming up in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. As Torsos comes up against Zenulos. Zen wins that kickoff, but goes straight to Amphis. Amphis, a little flip there, will carry that forward as Misty will be able to divert that straight up into the air. Comes off backboard, and the defense has to continue to rally here.
Yeah, Ground Zero already starting strong on this orange side as we see already some really strong offensive plays, putting some real defensive pressure on the side of Direwolves. They're trying to go for a couple of these early touches, but it's like I said, the recovery from Torsos and Amphis, being able to stay on this ball as often as they do, it's very dangerous moving forward.
Misty misses that second touch coming out of corner there, and Express will gain control. Double commit on Direwolves does manage to clear that ball out, but it will not mean that they can continue the attack. Demo there by Express will mean that Zen is out of the play. Torsos to the backboard, tries to read it as Fiber clears well. Amphis now back to his own backboard, and will slow down the play just for a moment as he takes control.
This has almost been a bit of an Amphis freestyle and free play at the moment. He's had a lot of time on the ball. We've seen him go back to his backboard twice now to move the ball forward. So a lot of touches here. One thing I want to kind of point out is every time Direwolves right now are getting possession, they seem to be clearing it away as Ground Zero rotating. So it's a bit rough. They're not really getting any time or space on the ball.
Fiber will send that downfield. Torsos up, will put that back, but Amphis actually beaten by Misty there with that small pinch upwards. Fiber will be able to pass that out, but Torsos is available, and Zen will have to take this back, reset into his own corner. Now has control. I've seen Zen do some insane things with the mechanics he has, and it's always a little bit scary to come up against, even when you're in one of these massive teams that are not able to get it past just this time.
And that's the thing that really keeps Direwolves relevant, is the mechanics. They're able to control the ball, get those extra couple of touches where their teams that they're versing aren't expecting them to control or carry the ball the way they do. So if they can utilize that moving forward and start really connecting on some shooting opportunities, this is going to be dangerous.
I think that's always been the thing for them, is this roster combination has always relied on those mechanics, and absolutely right, if they can combine some other features with that, they become dangerous every single time. But right now they're being fired on. Amphis takes another shot, blocked away again. The defense is holding, you've got to say, for Direwolves. They're doing fairly well, but it continues the onslaught of attack. Now Misty out again. Fiber finally the controls settling with Direwolves for a moment as they're able to clear out. Fiber gets it past again. Torsos has to take control of this. Well, he does. Dribbles it out and tries to pinch away as Misty reads it again. Now Zen into midfield. Express puts it back to Torsos, and that's actually a shot that has to be defended away once again.
So pressure still building here for Ground Zero. It's a bit of a bump there onto Zen at the last man position, but they couldn't manage to get a shot on field or accurate. So there's a bit of time and space now given to Direwolves to try and reset. And the one thing that is kind of lingering for me is, yes, right now Direwolves just have an open net and Misty taking full advantage.
Yeah, I mean, not really indicative of a lot this match so far, I guess, but Misty able to sneak it under that crossbar and does take first goal. I think one of the things that has a big question mark on this match, makes it harder to predict, is the fact that when you compare it to last match, you wouldn't say that Renegades would ever be under that amount of pressure for that long. However, if they were put under that amount of pressure, judging by how last game went, I don't think that they would have lasted that long without conceding a goal either. So, it's just difficult to read the situation.
I was going to make a point earlier about defenses where if they're getting constantly pressured, eventually cracks will fall. But it seems like at the moment, the way the Direwolves are playing this is very, very smart. Look at the way Misty played that. A double commit on the bump for Ground Zero to try and move that ball forward. But he's played that very, very smart. Knew exactly how the play was going to unfold, and he was able to adapt quickly. And that's been a massive tell for Direwolves on how they're able to adapt to these really dangerous situations.
Doing fairly well on boost as well there, despite their constant defensive position. Now Amphis, great control, will drop it down, but Fiber's available. Torsos will send it to the backboard, does manage to get the center Now Express can't quite find the touch as Amphis sends it out to the midfield. Torsos once again into Amphis. Misty gets there first. Zen now. Good clear out. Nobody to chase. He's going to try and follow it himself. But Express centers that, almost delivers it to Fiber, and Amphis has to make a save.
Time desperately running out here for Ground Zero. This could be potentially the first game they've remained scoreless that we've seen on stream, and what a way to do it for the Direwolves. They come out very, very strong here to really stamp their authority about how this series could potentially unfold. We saw Ground Zero coming very, very strong out of the gate, very, very offensive, but look at those saves, 9 saves to 4, really a credit to Direwolves' defense.
Yeah, I mean, what happened that game? By all accounts, you would assume that this is a game that Ground Zero came out of on top. They had the vast majority of the possession. They had the vast majority of the shots. They had the vast majority of attacking half aggression, and yet Direwolves come out with just that one goal that they were able to just hold on until something opened up for them, and here they are, a one-up in this series.
I think one thing that's worked for Direwolves is they're adapting to the pressure really effectively, because they're never committing too much into their attacking play. They're always making sure that if a demo comes through, can they rotate, can they support very efficiently? And the answer is yes. We're seeing Ground Zero, they got 5 demos compared to 0. So they are definitely being aggressive, Ground Zero, but they're not capitalizing on that aggression because of the way Direwolves are rotating.
Yeah, Fiber set up more bumped by Torsos. Misty will send that downfield, sent back out. Torsos is going to try grab this again, but Amphis gets under it a second time. Comes off high, and Fiber should be able to take this onto his own bonnet. A demo coming out there for Misty. 2 leaves Torsos on his own to carry this high. Looking for the play, actually sends it off the ground back to himself, but not before a touch comes out to stop the possession of Ground Zero.
Not a lot of boost for Torsos to work with, but he is able to get some now and control the ball. He gets a nice pinch there. A double demo moving forward. So this is going to be Torsos now trying to get the angle, but luckily the support again for Direwolves comes through. There was no open net for Ground Zero to work with.
Amphis and Express both in that corner, does center, but nobody could come up for the risk that they would have presented there. Amphis, great little touch off ceiling. Torsos takes the shot and Misty gets the save. Express, once again, trying to get the 50 out there, does manage to make its way to Torsos. Torsos maintains control, but possibly not where he wants it to be now, as he has to force it back to his own corner.
Great patience there by Misty. He's gone for a bit of a delayed start to that attack because he knew that there shouldn't be a lot of boost for them to work with, and now Zen has so much time and space, has the flip reset, but Amphis is getting those extra touches to get the ball clear, and now Ground Zero with possession. Torsos going to try and make something work, doesn't have a flip to work with, so he'll give the ball possession to Fiber, and Direwolves, just taking full advantage moving forward.
Express gets a nice touch on that one. Amphis. Fiber will actually cancel it out. Might be the first time that I've seen Direwolves actually be able to shut down an attack before it even starts at all from Ground Zero at this point. But now great passing play out to Fiber. He looks for the second touch. What a play! Straight in to the attacker and just nails it off the backboard.
Fireworks, the perfect goal explosion there for that play, because the way he was able to get that flip reset and adjust so quickly was beautiful to watch. What a first goal in game 2.
Doing exactly what we talked about. It wasn't just the mechanics coming out there, it was the team play. That pass was brilliant, and it's exactly what is needed out of Direwolves to make goals like that happen, and to come out on top against a team as dominant as Ground Zero.
Yeah, Ground Zero showing dominance in the last series, but they haven't seemed to get a foothold in this match. They have been scoreless this entire series of about 8 minutes, which is very, very unheard of for them, especially when you're thinking about Amphis and how strong he has mechanically to set up plays. They just haven't had the time and space to work with anything.
Express trying to go for his own little backboard play there as Amphis gets sent up near the ceiling. Does manage to get this down into the corner, but can't read Zen as he sends it low below him. Fiber now out to midfield. Express, good touch, gets the control himself. looking to get this past Misty. The slow play might be the right choice as Xanthus comes in, but Zen is on that fast. And now might be able to turn something around here, not if he gets demoed away like that.
I like the way that Dire Wolves are being a little bit more patient with their challenges. They notice that there's a bit of a misread with the rotation, like there might have been a demo like we saw with Zen, and they're adjusting really well to delay and allow their teammate to get back into the game before they pressure.
Now, great center. Torsos just misses the shot, but Express can make it work. Misty will make the miracle save. Cannot believe that three-man play wasn't able to sink, but the defense holds up yet again for Direwolves.
This is a massive turning point for them. That was a really strong defensive save there from Misty, just to keep the ball away from, I believe it was Express who was taking that shot. What a turnaround. This is looking desperate for Ground Zero to get their first goal in this series.
Torsos, get under that. Fiber, backflips into an Express, will send that center and sent well downfield. Memphis manages to get that up high, but Misty's available. But all team members on Ground Zero back and available for defense right now.
Fiber taking control on the ball, actually decides to pop it a little bit faster. Yes, the challenge from Express as well, but they're causing a little bit of an overcommit here by Ground Zero. It could work out, but a narrow touch on the nose there from Direwolves keeps that ball at bay. Misty doing everything possible. Fiber taking over, keeping that ball away from Ground Zero at the moment. They cannot do any wrong defensively here so far.
So many unbelievable shots that would have been sunk against just about any other team, and yet Direwolves is holding out so well right now. Zen actually ends up passing that up into Express. Unfortunately, comes off ceiling, possibly the setup they needed, and yet again the defense comes out of Fiber.
It's so crazy to see how strong Ground Zero are putting together these attacking plays against, a lesser team. They would execute them flawlessly, but the saves, again, just coming through absolutely clutch. This time, Fiber coming through with 3 saves, as well as Misty just doing everything at both ends of the field. And it's really looking solid for Direwolves, obviously moving 2 games clear from Ground Zero right now, puts them in match point contention. And this is going to be interesting, because if they 3-0 here, they are solidifying themselves as a very strong contender, and the winners possibly 2 weeks in a row.
I mean, you would normally be right in saying Direwolves was a lower team, but looking at this, I mean, first game they had almost no possession, still managed to just scrape out a win. That game, they had very good possession and used it incredibly well. They've now just completely zoned out Ground Zero from getting a single goal 2 games in a row, and calling Direwolves a lower team at this point, I don't even know if you can anymore. This is such a good way to come into week 2.
Exactly, especially after the break. This is them getting a solid foundation moving forward, and teams will start having to question, what makes them so different? Why are they so adaptable to every situation? And then they're going to look at the mechanics. They're going to look at how Zen is able to control the ball, how Fiber is able to control the ball, and how well-rounded Misty fits into this equation, and how they're performing at this level.
You mentioned Misty coming in strong on this team and really taking them to another level, and I'm seeing exactly what you mean now, because it's such a different looking team out of this roster. And now tries to get it past Express. Express actually managing to continues to 50-50 3 players and brings it center. Unfortunately, no goal out of it, but a lot of work there.
There was a lot of work by Express. Did have a lot of boosts to work with, but just remain on that ball, try to build that pressure for Ground Zero to eventually get their first goal. Again, they are scoreless after 10 minutes, 11 minutes now of gameplay, something that we don't normally see considering they were plus 10 goals in the last series.
2 games up to Direwolves now as well. Leaves Ground Zero in a dangerous position. Fiber now clearing out well, follows that. The 50 goes well for Express though. Zen puts that away. Amphis, a shot, but it's just too direct, too centered, and the defense has no issues getting that. That's an open net, has to be a goal. Express, you cannot miss that in this position.
That was such a tough angle, and he didn't have a huge amount of boost to work with. The pressure obviously building now for Ground Zero to get that first goal on the board. And sometimes the easiest shots become the world's hardest shots when there's that pressure that is building for your team to execute.
Now Zen's going to send this down to Amphis. Torsos and Express both up. They're definitely getting desperate for these goals. It's making them overcommit on these things, and that double doesn't cost them anything right now, but it definitely means that they can't take possibly the setup that might have been available to them before that happened.
Ball now in favor of Express, gets a nice pinch, but Fiber, again, good positioning on the backboard, just to keep that pressure. Zen, really strong, well done to try and get to that. And this is the thing, they're using their backboard very effectively in these attacking plays, but also Direwolves using it defensively, just keeping the ball away from that goal line.
Misty gets it out to the corner. Zen under it. Torsos will follow. Nice touch to get that over Zen. However, they need more than that as it crosses the net. Torsos, great little touch there actually to keep it in that corner, if that's what he was aiming for, but possession does go to Direwolves. Now, looking like Fiber might be able to set something up here. Misty, though, will send that out as Express goes up. Big miss from Express, leaves Torsos in a bad spot as Amphis comes in and just makes sure nothing can go wrong out of that one.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there for Express to get that miss. It's a very, very hard touch to get, and it does buy your team a lot of time, but when you miss it, it puts your defenders in a very horrible position, and we saw that with Torsos just kind of having to adjust really quickly to that play, and you know, this is where Direwolves take advantage of that adaptability, and they keep that pressure going.
Torsos now. Send it downfield. Amphis, good opportunity. Finally, will they score something? It takes yet another touch as Express comes in at the last moment. They finally on the scoreboard in the third game. Man, it took some work.
It took a lot of work for them to get to that point. And if you think about it, it came off a very, very minor mistake from Misty, who is normally very, very solid on that backboard, for them to be able to get their first goal. So, you know, it's one of those things where I feel like they have to rely on mistakes here at Ground Zero to get their goals.
Express sends it out. Fiber just positioned well, takes his time. Good touch by Zen, gets cancelled out though as Torsos comes downfield. That's an open net and an opportunity now. 2 goals finally for Ground Zero. Looking like they might be able to take this one. 1 minute in it. There's only been 1 goal each game so far, so if we're looking at the trend here, doesn't look like Direwolves would be able to come back, but you know what? Direwolves have surprised us 2 matches in a row, and I don't doubt they could do it again.
I don't doubt that as well, but again, we're looking at Ground Zero relying on mistakes. Just Fiber had a bit of a hesitation, a bit of indecision on that last play, but Zen, no indecision, no hesitation on that play. Just a very nice pass from Fiber. Great second touch there from Zen to put it into that corner. Just this is what is going to be interesting for Direwolves, because they're able to pull these mechanical plays out very, very efficiently.
Yeah, just a little bit of a misread on that bounce from Amphis will cost them that goal as well, but still only 46 seconds left. It's going to be a tough one for Direwolves to bring this into a third win. However, they are in position to do so. It's a great pass up to Xenios. That's a great shot. Comes off the crossbar. Fiber, opportunity still. Fiber trying to get this out. Misty goes in at the same time. They end up having to pull out of this attack. And now it gets cleared out by Ground Zero again.
Yeah, it's a bit hard there for Fiber. He wanted to go for the extra touch. The call from Misty came through for him to not go for that. But great capitalization there of some extra pressure. Amphis getting that touch there, seeing that Zen's going to go for a touch, and just being patient for the shot. Ground Zero now starting to walk away with some goals here.
Yeah, patience is the word I was going to discuss as well. They're just, after grabbing that boost, knew the ball was going to come somewhere in his direction, and just took his time. Ended up using that positioning very, very well, and now looking like Ground Zero will take 1 game back in this series. 4 seconds left on the board, and a goal does end up going in for Direwolves. They're not going to go down by more than 1 point. They know that, but with 4 seconds left, that's a tough kickoff goal.
I mean, it's a very tough kickoff goal, but if this ball goes up, then anything is possible. These players are very, very good at keeping the ball up when they need to, so it's going to be Ground Zero forcing it down. Unfortunately, by Misty, he does touch it down, So the ball cannot be continued in play, and Ground Zero will walk away with their first victory. But they're not out of the woods yet. They need a reverse sweep here to get themselves to that next round. And against Direwolves, you know, it's going to be a hard task because they came out strong and they did manage to get the 2 first series points.
You know, there's good low-scoring games and there's bad low-scoring games. And so far this series has been relatively low-scoring, but it's been anything but bad. This has been some unbelievably exciting stuff, and finally these scores open up this game. We've got a 3-2 on the board. Ground Zero actually coming out on top for the first time at least, and for them. And yeah, they definitely opened up the game in terms of excitement as well, and just seeing all of the stuff these players have available to them is unbelievable. 11 shots out of Amphis again.
Yeah, Amphis is just being an absolute demon when it comes to shots. He is very, very creative when it comes to his plays, so it allows him to get those extra shots on net. But it's the same being said for Fiber and Zen and Misty, apparently, who gets an absolute huge dunk on this first play. You see him going up, he gets a dunk here on Torsos, adjusts so quickly to get that redirect off the waterfall. Incredible first play.
Yeah, I mean, you see these kind of team matchups in pro tournaments all the time where it just ends up being a little bit of a game play style thing that makes the matchup so interesting, and I think that's what's happening here as well. You talked about the fact that all 3 of Direwolves' players are now shooting consistently well, whereas Ground Zero definitely seems a little bit more roll-locked, maybe a little bit more of a traditional team setup, but not going bad for them so far, but definitely is maybe a weakness against the play style of Direwolves as well.
It could potentially be, but I feel like now that they've kind of settled into their play style, they've had some extra time together, they've played a fair few tournaments together, they're going to be more solid and more well-rounded, as is Ground Zero. They've had some time now to adjust to everyone's play style and are starting to put together some really strong attacks.
The flip reset coming out of Express, they're almost earning them something, but there's nobody able to read that, including his teammates at this point. Great pass to Torsos. Can he spike it down? Not before Misty gets there. Zen will send it to the corner, but Torsos is already waiting there. Gets a +1. Great pass out. Amphis tries to go up early, but not early enough. As it comes down, nearly a shot, and it'll go high.
I don't want to say that Torsos blocked that ball, but it did look to redirect. There could have been an opportunity for a goal for Ground Zero, but just not fortunate enough at this point. So they do remain down in this game number 4, but they seem to be coming up with some more creative attacks. And it's almost working out, that one hitting the post and popping out, but it's looking good so far.
Absolutely right on the creativity front. I think that's definitely been what brought them out last game at the very least. But now, a little bit of midfield play. This is definitely feeling a little bit more even once again than last game, where one side or the other throughout that game seemed to have a little bit more of the advantage. Now, Torsos on that backboard again, trying to defend. A little bit of a misplay there. We'll set this up. That's going to be a free goal.
It is going to be a free goal. Misty taking a lot of time and space there after he managed to get this past Torsos. His Amphis creeping up on that boost. Probably didn't have a lot of boost to work with, which is why he was sitting in that corner, just getting a little bit positionally outplayed there and allowing Misty to get a second goal.
Goes the kickoff as Fiber goes up. He can't make it to the ball, and Amphis will actually be able to take the first shot. Express now puts it up the wall. Good choice. Tries to actually get a bump through it as well. There's the shot from Torsos. Just threads the needle and gets that right-hand corner of the goal. Good angle there to make it work.
Yeah, good positioning as well. Misty didn't really have a lot of options with that play. Probably didn't have a huge amount of boost to carry it forward, so had to try and take possession. But the timing of the fall just not working out. He wasn't able to get to the 50, and Torsos slipping in for a goal.
Ground Zero still down by 1 at this point. Now half the game gone. They need to work hard for this second one, especially if Direwolves can bring back that defense that we saw in the first 2 games. Zen, very dangerous. Express makes the challenge correctly and does 50 it away. Now still on defense though. They may be able to clear out. Finally gets it past Zen, as now possibly a chance for Ground Zero to even this up. Good passing out defensively to Fiber there for that clear, but not quite enough yet. Express should be on this. Touches up very high. Bush should go for it himself. Off the ceiling. Now a shot from Amphis, but it's too slow for Fiber not to stop that one.
Fiber now getting through the defensive line, or attacking line, I should say, of Ground Zero. There's some extra pressure building up by Express. Torsos. Oh, beautiful angle. If you had to trust anybody to get that angle, you would trust Torsos. Express doing a huge amount of work to clear the field, but nice execution all around.
Yeah, beautiful little spike from Torsos. Played out to perfection that play, and Ground Zero even this with one of the better goals they've had this series. Now Amphis looking to do it again. Can't get it past Misty. The attack is on for Ground Zero though, and they look to go up in this game and even the series if they can win this match as well. Now Misty will... No, he won't take control as Torsos comes flying into that one.
Again, we have to remind everybody that right now Direwolves are on match point, so if they do manage to get this next goal and take this next game, they will be progressing through to the grand finals. But for Ground Zero, they need to win the next two just to progress through. So much extra pressure for Ground Zero to perform, and that sometimes can weigh in on how they play. But so far, it doesn't seem to hinder them as Express, beautiful touch infield to Amphis, who was there ready and waiting, but could not execute on the shot.
That's a shot out to defense, but Misty just happens to be in the perfect position. Torsos, exactly the same situation there. Perfect position, manages to make that save work, and was a very dangerous position there. Direwolves' pressure is so threatening every time it comes out. That's a shot downfield. Torsos will send that up. Gets the second touch, but it'll come off that backboard to Zenulos. Now, Fiber can't quite find the touch, and Torsos should be able to get this past Zen. Let's get it past Misty at the very least as he comes back to that backboard of Ground Zero again.
Torsos is looking to try and aggro this as much as possible. He's turning for everything. He's trying to keep the ball away from Direwolves because they know if time and space is given to him, it could be dangerous. But do we see an overtime here, or do we see a 0-second goal to finish it off? Amphis with the touch, nearly getting it. There is a save by Misty. The ball is still up. Torsos getting it infield. Amphis takes a touch. Zen still has the save though. Misty puts the ball up. Express is going to try and kill this and move it to overtime. And we do have an absolute insanely high pressure overtime. Do we see Direwolves move forward, or do we go to game 5?
The shot straight off the bat. Express has the boost to get there though. Sends it back again. I have to say that with those last final touches before we hit overtime, then I was almost certain that somebody was going to get that goal before we hit 0, but didn't happen. Now opportunities though for Ground Zero as Fiber comes back just in time. Pressure is on for both of these teams. Now Direwolves can move forward to the grand final if they get one more goal out of this, but they're under pressure. Express sends that off. Now another clear out to the corner again. So many shots coming out from Ground Zero. It takes so much work to get past this Direwolves defense.
Exactly. The work they're putting in at the moment is absolutely exponential. They're trying to break this Direwolves defense, but they're just not having any luck. And this is where it gets a bit hard because they're putting that pressure in and they need to try and make something out of it. Right now, it's going to be Direwolves actually going for the extra pressure. Fiber taking a touch up. Zen's going to challenge this from the side. He actually pulls out of the challenge because Misty might have called for it, but now some extra pressure starting to mount. Ball neutral in the 50. We see Amphis taking an extra touch there, but he might just give away possession. No, he manages to get back to it, manages to pick up the boost as well. And this could be Ground Zero taking possession.
Amphis, great pass down to Torsos. Torsos will send it back to that backboard again. Gets another center. Amphis could be available. Misty looking like maybe he doesn't have a lot of boost there. As it gets centered again, Fiber will backflip that back out to Zenulos. Demo comes out on Torsos, and Amphis is forced to take it himself, but he does well with it, just keeping this pressure on as Express gets that back to Misty again.
We can start to see the desperation in the way these teams are playing. They're flying at the ball as desperately as possible, trying to create some little difference in their play, trying to keep the possession away from their opponent because they know, both these teams, that if they give away possession, that an attack will be forthcoming. And we see that with Torsos collecting it off the roof. Almost catches the dribble as well. And this is a mistake coming through. No, again, Dye will somehow walk away unscathed.
You see Misty jerk forward there, looked like he'd brought himself out of position, but just barely enough of a touch. to make sure there's no goal coming out there. Demo's coming out now as well. Both teams just trying to open up these goals and make something work. It doesn't have to be a good goal, it just has to be any goal, but nothing is coming out yet. Torsos downfield, Fiber off the backboard, just barely. Misty again, just crossing field over and over again now.
This is going to come down to which team is able to boost starve the other more efficiently. I feel like boost is going to be the biggest factor in the way these teams execute, because we know that with not a lot of boost, that both these teams might be able to fall apart. Although Torsos, beautiful plays here, trying to put the extra pressure on, but Misty again, very strong on that backboard.
Oh, shot as Express has to make the save. Xenios now sending back to the backboard again. Express gonna get under this, has to try and get it past Misty. It'll actually pinch out to Amphis. No big deals yet, but Fiber actually sets it up well. And I thought Torsos would get to that faster than he did. He does eventually deal with it though, and so much pressure coming out of Direwolves. We've seen it from both teams just about equally this game. I said it was looking like the closest one so far, and good lord is it.
Oh, my nerves are on their end. You can tell that this game is possibly going to end off a huge mistake from either team, and I honestly am at the edge of my seat now watching. We are nearly at 4 minutes of overtime play, which is nearly an extra game played at this point in time, which is a huge amount of gameplay all in one sitting for these players, but they are experts. They know exactly how to work, and the mistake came through. What a touch.
Yeah. Amphis just making good use of Misty. Thought he was going to go up that corner. Just takes it low. The surprise element of that brings them the goal, and Ground Zero take the game, sorry. Going forward to game 5 now in the series. They do force it forward because Direwolves had the match point there. They don't anymore, and Direwolves do not want to let go of this.
They definitely don't. They've had 2 match points here. Now they're moving to equal standing. They go 2-2. They've let their lead slip away in the series, and this is where the pressure comes in. This is where doubt comes in, because they would have been saying to themselves, we've had the opportunity to close this out. What is happening? And it's Ground Zero adapt, and we talked about it in the previous series about how efficiently Ground Zero was able to adapt, and we're now seeing that come tenfold.
Seeing the stat board light up a little bit more evenly now. Ground Zero actually favoured by those stats. Amphis up to 16 goals now, and now leading in assists at 3 as well. Definitely looking like an interesting series, even just by numbers alone. Misty with 13 saves, at Fiber with 11 as well, 28 total for Direwolves. They have just had some unbelievable defense throughout the entire series, but broke just at the last second, and Ground Zero has been able to bring it to this game 5. Should be very, very interesting game 5.
It is definitely going to be an interesting game 5. We've seen Ground Zero be hyper aggressive. We've seen Direwolves be hyper defensive, and no 2 ways are definitely worse than the other, but we definitely need to see some more aggression coming from Direwolves. We need to see them have a few extra shots and try and put that pressure back onto Ground Zero like they've been pressured all series.
I suppose this is what you expect out of a player who's been to RLC, as Torsos coming in here with the experience to know how to deal with pressure, and that could bring them a win here if they can just handle the pressure, but better than Direwolves do as well. Being in this game 5 situation, it can get under your skin.
It definitely can. It can definitely add those extra layers of doubt, or possibly, that, finesse when it comes to some of these shots. But, these players have probably scribbed against each other quite regularly, and they do know exactly how to play. And, oh no, the read.
Xenios has to turn on this. There is a shot a second time, but Fiber will send that high. Xenios takes that for a moment. Mysticals finally clears out. Amphis now on this ball. We'll get to Torsos downfield, but nobody to follow this possibly. Fiber will send this out to the corner and get a second touch as well. Still looking to clear this, but with no boost. Can't send it too far. Torsos takes that. Actually, Fiber did very well there.
He did very well, especially with that little wall wave dash there, trying to give himself a little bit of extra momentum to catch that ball that was starting to slip away. It's that creativity that's kept Direwolves relevant.
Amphis coming in now. The aggression out of Amphis certainly coming through as one of the biggest contributing factors to Ground Zero, bringing this all the way to Game 5 as well. Torsos downfield. Misty. Good touch now to center, but nobody to actually pass this to. Tries to take it himself and almost does so, but just not quite enough.
If he had a lick of boost there, he could have slowed down his momentum to create that separation away from the wall to get that double touch. Because that's what happens is he ran out of boost and he just flew at the ball as it bounced and unfortunately couldn't quite get the angle.
Amphis, good clear out to Torsos. Looking to set up a play here. Torsos going for it a second time. Great center. Read very well by Misty, but Express will nail that in the back of goal and take the first goal on this final match between these guys.
And Ground Zero now starting to get some momentum their way. They got the last 2 games under their belt and they're looking to take out this 3rd game. It's going to be an absolute blockbuster of a match to find out who will progress through to our grand final.
Amphis. Gonna follow this through Zenulos. Downfield Fiber will take that. Misty ends up going back to ground. Does possibly screw up their rotation just enough that they can't pull off what they were going for there. Torsos to the backboard. Fiber will get that in time. Passes to Misty on the backboard as well. Now, good setups by Ground Zero in general, but the defense holds up for Direwolves as consistently as it has in the series.
Oh, nice touch there by Fiber. Broke the defense a little bit, but Torsos, again, reading the play well, is able to adapt and challenge the ball quickly and give Ground Zero a little bit of time and space to return the favor. Now Fiber catching up to Mystical. It puts a brilliant shot in that upper corner, but Torsos, again, there and waiting. Infield pass. Nearly connected to by Fiber, but they do manage to take a little bit of possession here. Direwolves, they still are able to keep this ball moving forward after having a few chances.
I need a little attention to the save that Torsos just made. Actually drove up post to be able to flip at that ball. He read the play unbelievably well, but it's still not enough to keep them out of danger at the moment. They want to hold on to this 1-goal lead as long as they can, and hopefully push up on that lead as well if they can, but they have been under the gun for basically since they scored that last goal. They've been able to clear out and even get on the attacking side a few times, but it's just not lasted very long.
It hasn't, and this is the way the Direwolves are showing their desperation. They're keeping this attacking pressure because they know that as soon as that pressure lets go, that Ground Zero are going to be on the return that much quicker. So it's up to Direwolves now just to try and be on the ball as much as possible, force out those mistakes from Ground Zero and exploit them as much as possible.
And of course, being down by 1 now as well, they want to keep the aggression on as long as possible, increase their shots like Misty just did there, and open up that goal, but it's just nothing breaking on either side at the moment. That 1 goal is all that's in it.
That could have been an opportunity there. Fiber just creeping that little bit too far forward to get the pass there by Fiber, but again, we're pointing it out, Direwolves managing to maintain a lot of pressure moving forward. Even though they're starting to lose a little bit of steam, they're still locking this ball into that orange half.
Good challenge by Zenulos. Doesn't go particularly well in the long run though. Torsos now up wall as Express fakes a challenge. Misty sends it in. Amphis takes control. Gets it off the ceiling, looking to try and maybe even flip reset on that, but he runs out of boost too early. Torsos gets that off that back wall. 0 seconds. It looks like this would be Ground Zero's game, and it's the only one they've been able to take on a clean sweep. It will be... Oh my goodness, how is this still up? There we go. Ground Zero take the game and take the series. It is probably the more experienced upper ranking team here that takes it, but man, they were driven to try harder than I think I've ever seen Ground Zero have to try against a team in the RLO series by this Direwolves side. They have been unbelievable.
They have been unbelievable, and this is the first game that we actually saw Ground Zero really been tested on the defensive side. They had a huge amount of shots come their way. I think quick maths is 11 shots coming towards them, and they did not concede a goal at all, which shows they can execute on both sides of the field. They can create those creative offensive plays, but they can also total up and be super defensive when needed, and they are able to hold this lead and progress through to the grand final.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw different styles of play out of both teams throughout that, both teams forcing the other to change the way they played throughout that series consistently. We saw, like you said, hyper-aggression and hyper-defensive-ness pretty equally across that, but not only did we see that, we saw it out of both teams at different times, and Direwolves pushed so hard to make Ground Zero sweat like that, and have done very, very well. Some unbelievable stats across that, and yeah, just awesome stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough fought match. We've seen two matches today that could be grand final worthy that were a little bit premature. We saw one in the obviously the quarterfinals between Ground Zero and Renegades, and then now again against Direwolves and Ground Zero again. And we're going to see them a third time as well, as it's almost been a progression journey for Ground Zero, who are going up against Team Process, who 3-0'd Cringe Society. What a massive shock. Obviously, us as casters have not seen the bracket up until this point, and this is a massive win here for Team Process, getting that 3-0 against a very strong team in Cringe Society.
Yeah, absolutely insane. I mean, we mentioned that Process were able to take down Renegades in the group stages. Then they 3-0'd Fenrir, maybe not quite as hard a prospect as taking down somebody like Cringe Society for sure. 3-0, what a massive win for them, and that really puts them up in my rankings. Who knows? Maybe they can cause the upset and take down Ground Zero. But for now, Ground Zero looking like they are still the winter champs right now, bringing it into the finals. We will see you again for the grand finals in just a minute. We'll catch you just momentarily.
Under my umbrella, shelter from the cold. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? All alone. Your eyes match the weather, raining under pressure. Oh, you say you wanna go, yeah. So let's get away from here. Let's get away from here. Stranger stuff.
And we're back with the grand finals for the RLO Masters, January 2nd week of the year as well. So still early on this one, and man, is it turning out to be something special already. Ground Zero versus Team Process is our final matchup tonight. Unbelievable work by Team Process to get to this point, and not only did they get here, they got here with style, 3-0ing all the way up the bracket for playoffs tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to finally see them in action, because I want to know what their hidden factor is. What has been working so well for them? Because they've gone against decently strong teams. We talk about Fenrir, who made it into the top 4 last week, and then we talk about Cringe Society, who again is that consistently strong team. So looking at this team, obviously a little bit less experience compared to what we're used to seeing in our grand final, but the team is still very stacked. We're looking obviously at CJM, Baked Potato, and Laxon. CJM being the veteran here, Baked Potato and Laxon. Baked Potato has been around in the scene for quite some time. I know Laxon is definitely an up-and-comer who is making some really big headlines about his style. So maybe he could be that factor like Amphis, just being really creative with attacking plays and keeping his team relevant.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth mentioning that in their last matchup against Cringe Society, they may have taken them 3-0, but it was only 1-goal games throughout the entirety of it. In saying that, that's no less of an attestament to them. Taking down Cringe Society 3-0 is an enormous task, no matter what team you are. And Cringe Society had a lot to prove this week as well, because they didn't even make it into playoffs last week. So getting taken down by a Team Process in such a big way here is fairly major for them. I'm sure that they fought hard to make sure that didn't happen, but they're still here now. So let's see if they can do it again to Ground Zero. I don't expect a clean sweep again.
Yeah, I don't think that they will walk away with a clean sweep, but it could be possible. I didn't think they were going to get clean sweeps in the previous series, but they did manage to do it. Like you said, it was 1-goal games, but to be unscored on in 15 to 20 minutes of gameplay, that's a fair feat. So hats off to them. But this is going to be an interesting kind of prequel to what's happening in the future. Obviously, we do have our ESL matches coming up very, very soon, and this is a good platform to go against these stronger teams who are going to be massive threats in the ESL. So this is going to be a huge match for Team Process.
Yeah, and looking at the rankings sheet here as well, Ground Zero coming in equal 5th here. Meanwhile, Process equal 9th. So a bit of a discrepancy there in placement as well. So obviously we're looking at this expecting Process to probably go down, but like you said, there's some factor here that we aren't aware of, so I'm really keen to get this underway to see how we go, and maybe even see the Masters of Winter Ground Zero get taken down.
The interesting thing I want to think about here is if Process are able to beat Ground Zero here, they will go above them in the leaderboard by a single point. That is huge, because that's how tight this current leaderboard is. When you think about what's happening, one single point, if Process were able to move up here, you see them on 70, currently Ground Zero on 90. You get 151 for a win and 130 for second. So 21 points of difference. That is a massive thing to consider for Ground Zero. Obviously, it moves them further up the line. But for Process, this could potentially be a huge jump, going from that equal 9th position into potentially a top 3.
Yeah, I mean, top 3 for a team that you would call relatively new. That's crazy. I did mention earlier, I have seen Process before. I recognize the name CJM. I recognize Matro, who actually won't be playing today. He's going to be subbed out for Laxon. Who knows? Maybe even Laxon is that surprise element in this team. But we're gonna see very shortly as we go into lobby already, and I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I'm keen to see what Laxon brings to the table. I have gone up against him in casual, definitely not ranked. I'm not that good, but I've gone up against him. He's very creative with his shot styles, and I feel like that's going to be really good, especially with Baked Potato, who I know is putting in a huge amount of work into how he approaches the game. I'm pretty sure he's learning new binds as well, so he's really trying to push his limits to that next stage to really make Team Process a relevant team. And in this best of 7, which is obviously our grand final best of 7, it's going to be an absolute marathon for them to potentially pull off an upset.
Yeah, and it's interesting being round 0 in this matchup as well, because you probably don't know what to expect here either. So already kickoff going to Team Process. Express comes in fast though. Good challenge from Potato. CJM can't get there quite in time. And dominant aggression straight off the bat from ground 0, but no goal.
No goal just yet, but I know that with Ground Zero, and especially the way their thought process is, they're not going to respect Team Process at all in this position. They think that they're going to be, that much more sound in terms of their game plan, their rotation, so they're going to be hyper aggressive, and we're already seeing that in this opening minute of gameplay. Everything that Team Process have in terms of their possession on the ball is being challenged instantly by Ground Zero.
Ooh. Team Process actually almost able to take a shot there. Nobody able to follow it up as it drifts across the front of the net. Express passes out to Amphis. Great shot. CJM can't quite get there, and it'll bounce off the crossbar and in.
Nice touch there by Express. Just pops it into a beautiful spot there for Amphis. You can see both Amphis and Torsos having the same idea on how that play was going to unfold, and they were able to execute it very nicely.
CJM beaten by Express on kickoff. Well, should have gone to Potato at the very least. Now, quick rotation back for Team Process. Not an error that you want to see this early in this game.
Yeah, definitely not an error that you would expect to see early on, but obviously there's going to be some nerves. You can see that Potato had put down as his name, happy with second place, so obviously feeling very comfortable with where he is at the moment, but we definitely want to see some fight from Process.
Express now. He's going to take this off from his backboard. Does take control. We'll go back. Laxon should be challenging Amphis on this. Gets bumped away though, Express. Good pass in. Torsos won't be able to get to it as it gets sent up high by the defender and cleared out by Laxon. Now, Potato goes up high for that one. Nails it to the corner, but Torsos is there and waiting. Torsos now can dribble that down 50 away. Does go in his favor, but Laxon should be able to get hold of that. He misreads it and uses up all of his boost in the process.
This is a situation where I think that Process are trying to be fast to the ball because they're understanding that Ground Zero are really going to bring the heat in this gameplay, but they're not thinking about their efficiency. We saw Laxon challenge that ball pretty inefficiently. He decided to fly at the ball rather than using the wall, which was directly behind him. So they're, I guess, a bit confused, possibly, or even just a bit challenged in their thought process on how to play this series out.
Amphis under that ball now. Laxon can't quite find it. Amphis will take a second goal for Ground Zero. Team Process really struggling with such a dominant team here.
Yeah, very, very dominant start for Ground Zero. We saw them have a bit of trouble against the Direwolves early on. They went down 2 and then came back with a reverse sweep to get to this point. But again, we're seeing them just adapt to the play style, a lot more confident in this gameplay, and they're being a lot more effective on their attacks. And CJM, unfortunately, wasn't expecting a miss there. Had to react quickly for a shot and couldn't put it through.
Oh, Amphis, beautiful little backflip there. He can't aerial up to it in time though, and Potato will get the save that he wasn't able to last time. It was close, but this time it is successful. Express tries to get the redirect in, but the angle is too narrow, but not for Amphis, who just smashes it straight in the back of it.
I like the communication here by Ground Zero because Torsos definitely could have taken the shot there. Didn't have any boost to work with, but the call from Amphis came through, and you can see that it was the right call. CJM had no idea that Amphis was going to take the shot, committed to the Torsos play, and they're able to secure a third goal.
CJM sends that towards net. Was a good shot. Express put that away to Torsos. Now Torsos taking the dribble, flicks over CJM. Bump on the last man. CJM can get the flick up. Express is a danger. Gets it past him. Now Ampus sending it well back just beside his own goal as he comes off ceiling and looks at that 50.
Nice angle there by CGM. Potato taken away from the position of ground zero, but he actually just gave the position back to Torsos with momentum, and he puts on a nice flick. A nice little return there by Potato, getting those extra couple of touches that he needs, but not having enough boost to execute a play effectively. And this is where the efficiency comes in, having those boost routes, knowing how to pick up the boost properly, just to give yourself a little bit of extra touch, which I know these players can do quite regularly, but obviously against the caliber of ground zero, you start to forget those little things.
Yeah, 3-0. It's not looking like there will be a clean sweep by Team Process this time around. The dominance coming out of ground zero is quite substantial. CJM does get a nice clear out there. You do see little bits of brilliance out of Team Process, but it's definitely not enough to stop ground zero. Great shot just on the crossbar.
Well, we've seen Amphas get a few clips last week. This time he gets a nice little clip in the grand final. Nice little flip reset into a musty to pop it past Potato, who was last defender there, to get that fourth goal. And a dominant start from ground zero. But again, a reminder, it is a best of 7. It is a marathon. They need 4 wins to be crowned the victors. So yes, they start off strong in game 1. Can they maintain it through the day? And already we're seeing Process strike back.
Yeah, Process able to get one right in that last moments there. A great challenge there to actually get the center by Laxon as well. Most of the work done by him. CJM made sure he was in position if the ball did get out to him, and it made it quite well. So, you know, definitely good communication out of Team Process. We've seen a few whiffs and stuff, but like you said, has to be a fair bit of nerves involved in this matchup, and maybe those will settle and the confidence will come in for Team Process in game 2.
Yeah, you would have to think so. Hopefully the confidence and the nerves settle a little bit as well. You want them to, you know, approach this game like any other game. As I always try and tell myself, what they're doing with their cars is no different to what you potentially could do. It's just about efficiency. So take this game with a grain of salt, move from it, get that second goal for Potato, get that confidence boost, and then push forward. No, Potato is probably going to make a car change. He normally plays with the Octane. I think he was doing a little bit of a tribute to Torsos there with the same skin. So hopefully he's back in his comfort car and he starts to progress much more efficiently.
Yeah, it did end up bringing that down to only a 2-goal lead, making it looking a little better for Team Process in the stats, but ground zero really just a powerhouse here at the moment. Amphis with all 4 goals for the team though, and I mean we have seen him be the king of aggression throughout tonight's series. However, yeah, ground zero is just, the dominance is the word that keeps coming up, but I'm going to keep saying it because that's what we're seeing.
I think the factor as well is in the previous series we saw Amphis be a little bit more stifled in terms of his opportunities. He quite often was the playmaker or the one who sets up the play. This time around he's having a little bit more freedom, he's getting more time on the ball, and we're seeing those mechanical plays. We're seeing him get, you know, flip resets into musties, we're seeing him get those air drags. He's having a lot more confidence in his own solo play, and the Team Process, I want to see them challenge that more quickly. I want to see them get Amphis in an uncomfortable position and force him to make some errors.
I have to say, despite ground zero being all over Team Process there, Team Process came away with some decent stats there. They weren't far off on shots, 7 to 10, and one of their players got 5 shots, which is equal best shots per player in this in that last match as well.
Yeah, that was CJM doing a lot of work on both sides of the field. The veteran, as we said, has been around in the scene for quite some time, and you know he's going to be a little bit more comfortable with this play style. It's up to him to, you know, give the confidence to his team to push these juggernauts of the scene.
Torsos, great control, unbelievable goal by Torsos, a one-man play. There was a little bit of interference by Express in the goals there, but man, just beautiful control out of Torsos.
I think if there wasn't an interference by Express, Laxon may have been able to read it. He did have support by CJM, but Express just taking the opportunity to give the 2v1 to his teammate, get a really strong shot on, and take an early lead.
Now Torsos turning on this well. Doesn't get it past Laxon though. Laxon does seem to be coming up strong in those clutch moments for Team Process. Potato will slam that one in well. He's been a little bit more of the defender for Team Process, but takes a goal now and evens this game up 1-1.
I did say that as soon as he left, he will be going to his comfort pick and an octane. And you know, when you're in your comfort picking, you know how the angles work and you know where to position yourself. It does make you feel so much more fluid, and we're seeing all that already with Potato.
Now CJM, send this up high, Amphis. Now, nice flip onto that. Torsos here. Actually doesn't collect the flip reset he might have been looking for there, and now CJM pushing up, looking for that center, gets it past Express. Actually a shot by himself. What a shot it was! That angle's insane.
Someone pull out the protractor, because that was millimeters of a degree, and he was able to get past not one but two defenders in Express and Amphis to get that shot on. And now we're starting to see the Team Process that, you know, could have potentially put these juggernauts of teams in their place.
Sorry, I'll get back to casting in a second, just trying to find my protractor. Now Laxon, way to CJM, sends it off that backboard. Demo on Potato, no chance of a goal. He was that last man to come forward for that ball. Amphis gets a great pass out to Express, but that 50 goes extremely well for Laxon. Has to be a goal. 3-1 to Team Process. What is happening in this game?
This is spicy. I like the way Laxon approached this ball. Went for the backwards dunk flick. Wow, what a stylish shot coming from Laxon. That's going to be a massive confidence boost for him as well. He got a beautiful 50 challenge to advantage. He adapted quickly. He put in a goal. Each player now from Team Process with a goal in this match, and this is apples and oranges compared to game one.
I mean, I mentioned the fact that, you know, if they were able to open up a little bit, those nerves might disappear and we might see a bit of confidence. Seems like it's happening, and the confidence is producing miracles. That was an incredible shot. I mean, yes, very open net, but you gotta respect that shot.
You do, and yes, it was an open net, but there's so many people, especially when you're at that kind of velocity in the way you're playing, you tend to misread how much speed you've got, how much power you've got, and that can potentially, you know, fumble the open net. But Laxon taking all the confidence and making a great play.
Laxon, great touch on that ball. Torsos up now. Didn't take a shot himself, but looks at the double commit on that. It's dangerous, but Express pinches it far across to the other side.
Ooh, good demo there. It's going to open up some time and space at Process now. They've got to control the ball a little bit more, but they still have to be wary of Express, who is lurking in that bottom left corner. Amphis now going for the support as well, but they'll have to try and solo this. You do see Torsos lurking, but they're not going to be able to get into a position for a shot until Express again in that corner. His corner play has been super strong for Ground Zero. Puts it in a spot for Torsos to score.
Yeah, good challenge by Express there to set that up. CJM, you know, he read the situation correctly, but just wasn't back in time. Now, looking like Ground Zero within spitting distance of evening this up, but they are still down by one, which in itself is quite impressive by Team Process. They've gotten here well, and they want to continue this lead. They're on attack again as Express goes up, does beat CJM. Now Laxon comes through. Goes to that off wall, gets that second touch. Express is going to send it back to corner for safety, but he gets beaten by Potato. Will clear eventually off of Amphis.
Amphis, nice clear. A bit of confusion in the corner for Team Process, but they do still currently have the lead with 100 seconds on the clock, so they'll just need to maintain that lead to really put the pressure back onto Ground Zero, who started off strong. It has been a very high scoring series so far. And now we see CJM taking control of the ball. He's going to try and get that second touch. Can't get it past Express, who's put in a good spot for his team. But Laxon, beautiful second touch. Maybe even a third to the wall just to try and get some time and space for his team.
Now, Team Process looking less likely to score than they did early in this game. I think maybe Ground Zero has switched from that super confident stance to maybe taking this team a little bit more seriously after being scored on 3 times. And now, oh my goodness, I say that they're coming off of hyper aggression and then they demo everyone in field.
Yeah, Express just being a massive instigator in these attacking pressures. We see him, lurking, not having the confidence that Process will go for the clear, and he's just going from end to end, trying to get those infields. And if he can collect a few demos on the way, he's definitely going to do so. Torsos this time actually being the demo collector, it's going to give him some time and space. He gets a couple of touches on the wall, but no support there for the time being. Infield pass is nice, but gets taken away by Potato, and that's going to buy some time and space for Process.
CJM, great center there, emphasis up early. Now Potato challenging that well, gets it out to the center field, but Torsos now taking a pass off of Emphas. Emphas will finish it. Great little play out of a team that we expected from Ground Zero, just showing up.
You almost expected Torsos to possibly go for a redirect off the backboard there, but instead drops it down to his teammate. He gets a nice flick, hits that crossbar down, well executed to bring it back. And, Process started off strong. They had a 3-0 lead, and now they're back to 3-3 with 3 seconds to go. It's going to be rough.
Laxon failing to drop that one down will mean that this will probably go to overtime. CJM still capable of setting up, but overtime it is. And in round 2, it has not taken long for Team Process to look like they're even levels with Ground Zero in this game at the very least. Definitely still a challenge for them to take this series, but looking more and more serious. There's the shot. Potato just barely missing that top left corner.
Yeah, he was definitely going for a very precise touch there. Ground Zero had pretty much every other angle covered except for that top corner, and unfortunately Potato didn't have the accuracy there. But, Team Process definitely looking a little bit stronger than Game 1. They're putting more opportunities on, and if they're able to get a win here, that's going to really, solidify them as a contender.
Ground Zero should have really scored just then. A little bit of positioning errors mean that it is still overtime. Approaching this first minute now. Torsos still chasing. This is Potato. Gets that 50 away from his net. Express making a little bit of an error there. It goes back to Emphas. Now Laxon can take control. Upfield into the corner. CJM challenging. He misses as Torsos gets it past him. Express now off the backboard. Looking like it might be the one. Emphas will finish it in Ground Zero. Take game 2.
The one thing that's really been evident for me for Ground Zero is obviously their adaptability. They adapted very, very quickly to that change in play style by Process, but they're rotating so efficiently. They're boost stealing quite a lot, which means that as the rotations come back for Process, the boost isn't available. They're having to collect pads or take different routes than they used to, and that's causing a few mistakes. And we saw that towards the end there. Ground Zero started having a bit more pressure on the offensive side, and we saw Express quite often get a demo or rotate, take that back corner boost away from Team Process, and Team Process were just stuck eventually. They couldn't really move forward. They didn't have the boost to move and make a play, so they just had to sit and turtle up and hope for the best, but unfortunately, Ground Zero just too strong.
Extremely strong. I mean, it's the result we expected, but not the way we expected to get there. Team Process did extremely well that one, and definitely showing us that they're capable of coming up into this as at least a threat. And maybe that's not all we can see out of them. Maybe they're still warming up. We've got a best of 7 here that's only 2 games into it at the moment. Takes 4 to win, so they've got opportunities still at this point, and I'm not done watching this team, so Ground Zero definitely still my pick for this match, but Team Process are definitely starting to show up.
Ground Zero were my number 1 pick for tonight's event, so I definitely feel like they have the capacity to, really put a strong showing in. But you can't really count out an underdog. They will always have some kind of flair. They'll always challenge the ball a little bit differently to what you're used to. And if you're not prepared for that, you can potentially be scored on. And we saw that in the previous game with Process getting 3 goals.
And especially in a best of 7, you see the newer players. Emphas just slamming that home. What a play out of Ground Zero.
A very, very solid play. Torsos baiting out a touch there, and you can see how stationary Potato and CJM are there on the goal line. They couldn't really adapt. They had no momentum to get to the ball, and that means that Emphas can slam it home any day of the week.
Now, if Ground Zero will let me finish that thought, Team Process, full of players who are Okay, Ground Zero, stop. I'm looking at you, I see you, that's enough. I'm trying to speak, express what ground pitch.
Very, very nice ground pitch. What I like is that Amphis as well. Like, you can see Express is losing the ball. Amphis deciding to fake out a challenge there to keep Process at bay. If you don't see Amphis there, you try and catch that ball away from Express. But the fact that Amphis went for it means that they have to stay. They have to wait to see if Amphis is getting a touch. Otherwise, they overcommit.
CJM with a bit of a miss on that one. Express as well, though. Potato will center that for CJM. Good opportunity. Torsos gets there just in time to stop that passing play connecting as Amphis sends backboard Potato now away to that left-hand side. As Torsos takes back possession again. Should be a shot, but Laxon with a good save.
Amphis, good control just to keep that ball moving forward. He's going to pressure this as much as possible and actually strips the possession away from CJM and causes some commits here by Laxon. Beautiful ceiling pinch to put it in a good spot. Potato will read it and put that ball back into a contentious position. And Ground Zero for the first time look a little bit stagnant. They are a bit, stationary, a bit flat-footed, so to speak. And they're really struggling to... Actually, I'll take that back. They finally get the ball moving forward and they actually put a good shot on.
Express can't quite read that backboard bounce. CJM now great skill, almost finds the angle there actually. Would have been a better angle than his previous one. He is really, really good at just directing this ball.
Ooh, there's a bit of contention there on the goal line. Ground Zero almost fumbling, but they do manage to walk away unscathed for the moment. Nice challenge there by Laxon. Is going to put it into a 1v2 situation. Tries to get the flick off past both, but Express reads the play every single day of the week. Nice shot there, but there are two defenders and a third from Ground Zero to support on the defensive side. And they eventually get a nice pinch shot. That could potentially just go in. It does narrowly miss in that top left side.
Express now with the shot, far and in. That is as close to out as you can get and still score. But it does go in and makes it 3-0 for Ground Zero. And man, this is the team that we were expecting after game one.
We did see a good showing game two, but it seems like, again, Ground Zero just adapting. They're being more creative with the play. They're starting to go for a lot more ground pinches as well. We've seen the second one there, this time by Torsos. They're noticing that, Process love to be in the air. They're happy to challenge in the air. They're going to drop the ball down. They're going to create some confusion, and they're going to be successful.
Not only was that ground pinch good, it was unreadable as well. He kept his nose up as if he was going to try and shoot high until the last moment and faked the defense into jumping. Just really, really well played there. Now, though, opportunity for Ground Zero, for Team Process, sorry, will not go anywhere yet. Laxon to that corner, Amphis now with control. Can take that off there, looking for the backboard, can't find it, gets to Torsos. Amphis saves Torsos' shot, and I think they might just be playing with it at this point.
I mean, it might have been a situation where if they do score too many goals, obviously the game takes longer, but it could just be a fact that Amphis might have gone up for the bump, accidentally jumped into a contentious position. So you can't really say that they've been playing with. I feel like they're just, maybe being a little bit more experimental with their plays.
CJM definitely knows where his protractor is, unlike me, because these angles that he's nearly tapping are just unbelievable. I've not seen consistency on angles like this from almost anybody. It's really, really incredible stuff that he's willing to go for. But unfortunately, nothing going in this game. He got one last game and needs to find that magic again as Laxon tries to find that center. He was working with low boost. Torsos now up to Express, another miss. We've seen more misses this game than I think we've seen in any of the series tonight.
I think the reason for that being is Ground Zero just trying to be as quick as possible to the ball, trying to take time and possession away from Process, because we saw in game two when they do have time and possession, they're able to make things work. Right now, they're just trying to challenge the ball fast, bit ball chasing mechanic, and, really stick it to Process at the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely, they want to keep this ball under wraps. It's a good shot out to Potato, but he's not there early enough. Just goes wide of net. Amphis off ceiling. Great flip. Keeps control on that, but Laxon will read it. well. CJM now following this as Torsos takes it to the backboard, gets a second, tries to get it to Amphis, but Amphis may have run out of boost there actually.
Yeah, potentially, but it will be the dying seconds of game number 3, and Ground Zero commanding their way to a 3-0 series scoreline. They only need one more in this best of 7 to be crowned the victors of week 2, considering their misfortune in week 1, obviously with connection errors and etc. They're able to bounce back strong. They're able to really stamp their authority within the OCE region that, yes, we had an off week last week, but we are still the #1 team in this region.
I think something I said in game 2 carries through here. Just moments of brilliance out of Team Process, but particularly in that game 2. But nothing this one. Just nothing that could finally get that into the back of net, and they just couldn't find the mark, couldn't open up that net, and the opportunities just weren't capitalized on this time around. But Ground Zero was brutal that last game as well. They just did not allow Process any room to breathe.
No, exactly. They didn't allow Process any room to breathe, but they're also forcing Process to play a little bit quicker than they used to. We saw a few times Process making just mechanical errors with how fast they were having to challenge the ball, where they had to be, and that speed and lack of confidence when challenging the ball can really affect how the play unfolds.
Express actually takes that slow, good patience there, gets a second as well, but can't get past CJM. Now Torsos will take this from under the ball, dribbles it well, but it's going to go off backboard. CJM coming in just before Amphis could take a shot. Express using the handbrake just to turn in on that goal at the last moment. No shot available for him. Great pass into Amphis, and they'll slam that one home.
We have to talk about that control from Torsos. Look at the way he's able to pop the ball, recover quickly, and we talked about recovery in Series 1, where they were able just to keep their nose on the ball. They're challenging the possession straight away. They're keeping themselves relevant, and it executes with a goal.
Potato doesn't quite get the touch he needs. Leaves a dangerous opening for Ground Zero right off kickoff. Now Potato can get a clear out. Torsos under this. Will go back to that backboard. Torsos still trying to get under it as Laxon poses the threat, grabs that boost, gets it past both Torsos and Amphis. Express is available. Laxon gets another center. Nobody's available. Team Process just hesitant to go up after the onslaught they've received from Ground Zero so far.
It's a very much a mental game at this point. You know that Ground Zero are going to challenge. You know they're going to be efficient, and that's getting to you in terms of where you're positioning, because you think, am I going to get a good touch? Am I going to lose possession? And that's causing this confusion in the gameplay. We do see CJM, the veteran, really staying confident, getting good challenges, and proving that they can keep themselves relevant. It's now up to Lax and Potato to, try and rise to that occasion, but a bit unfortunate. Again, just Amphis taking advantage of the positioning.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like the positioning was the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's just enough. If you're going to take in gameplay like that to Ground Zero, you have to expect a scoreline like this. But Potato's happy with second place, but it's sad when you can't see them push through that mental block. And, we saw in game 2, Process be able to bring out some amazing stuff. There we go. Potato able to work off Flax, and they are still capable of this stuff, but if they can just get on top of their mentality, we'll see more of it out of them.
Exactly. When they start to play their game and they control the pace of the play to their style, they are such a strong team. We saw that in game 2. We saw some real big highlights and moments where they took the game to Ground Zero, they played their own match style, and it worked. Now they've just got to try and adapt and do the same thing. Keep the ball away from Ground Zero. Force them to make mistakes, because they are definitely capable of that.
CJM, great little tap to pass that off to Potato. Not going to get finished though. Laxon now using exactly what you're talking about, pacing this game out, trying to force it to their speed, but nothing coming out of it just yet. Potato misses that. A little bit of a misplay. Bad communication on the side of Team Process nearly costs them a goal, but Ground Zero misses the net.
Yeah, Ground Zero missing an opportunity there, and also equally Baked Potato did have an opportunity for a 1v1, but with a bit of a heavy touch in the middle, did give away possession to Torsos, who was waiting. So some opportunities missed on both sides of the field, and again, an opportunity here for Express, but he does unfortunately miss, but the pressure is still mounting, it's still going. Baked Potato with the save, keeping his team only 1 goal deficit.
I can't believe that was a savable goal. Laxon scores off of it as well, and we go to an even game. 2 minutes on the clock, 2-2 on the board, and we have an even game between Team Process and Ground Zero.
We do indeed. This is reminiscent of what happened in Game 2. So all they need now is just to keep this momentum going forward. It's one match after another. Yes, it's a best of 7 and you need a reverse sweep to win, but take a series away, get some confidence, and that'll be really good moving forward.
CJM up now, very vertical. Does get it away to a little bit more safe spot. Express and Torsos double committing on that one as Amphis runs back. Amphis being the savior right now as he just holds that high. Laxon can't reach it, and CJM will send it to the wall. Comes off nicely. 50s on Express, and Torsos will get a nice touch to try and keep possession. We'll go back to Amphis, but no shot on there.
Yeah, no shot as of yet, but some pressure building for Ground Zero here as Torsos takes the ball in the corner. It's going to pop out. Nice challenge there by Laxon. He's actually going to try and keep possession here as well, but Amphis, again, great read. Beautiful EU cleared there by Potato, but Ground Zero are very good at gatekeeping here in the midfield. What a save there by CJM, flicking for his life as Amphis took that shot.
Yeah, there must have been 0.1 of a second between that shot and that save. CJM just absolutely perfectly touched that to send it high and out of goal. They've clutch saves like this a couple of times. Potato with a great shot. Unfortunately, Express right in the way of that does make the save. Amphis up now off the pass from Express. Great shot after that flip reset. Scoops it, but no goal out of it either. The defense out of Team Process is holding up so well right now.
Yeah, they're stepping up to the plate in a massive way, and probably their biggest game yet. They need to try and get this win so they have that confidence boost moving forward. Torsos narrowly missing the upper left corner. Ground Zero seem to love that position. We've seen 3 goal attempts and 2 successful shots. A third there. Sorry, I should say a fourth. They seem to love that top left corner.
They certainly do, but they're not finding it just yet. Will go away, looking like it might be overtime. CJM going to tap it up and follow it. The 50 comes out. Potato will let it drop to the ground, and we have overtime.
This is it, golden goal. We could potentially have the series finish here, or we can have Team Process taking a game away from arguably the #1 team in the region at the moment. As a lot of people find it as well. Express does take a shot, but it goes wide to the right side. So now Laxon looking to take control, gets met by Torsos. Torsos again, extra touch. Amphis is there, but he gets beaten by Potato. And now the Ground Zero on the back foot here, trying to keep the ball away from Process, but Laxon brilliant challenge to force a touch by Express.
Amphis tries to redirect, but misses the touch. Will go forward off Torsos though. He's going up for the shot himself. Gets it off the post and in. Brilliant shot. What a series. It's a shame that Team Process weren't able to take a game away from Ground Zero here, but probably the result that should have happened. Ground Zero so strong throughout all of their matches tonight, and really bring it through in a big way in the finals.
Yeah, definitely. Ground Zero, rocky start, but we've been able to see the highs and lows the entire night. We saw them coming out pretty strongly against Renegades, having a bit more of a tough time against Direwolves, but this time, obviously, the confidence really shining through into Team Process, and arguably, you know, one of Team Process's most difficult games of the night. They definitely had some highlight moments where they're able to bring themselves more relevant into the game, but you know, like I said, it's a marathon. They have to do that consistently throughout the entire night, and it's been a long day. They've obviously had qualifiers, then the playoff series, so it's a super long day for these players, and they have done exceptionally well all in all.
Yeah, and you know, as much as it was only 4 games, a best of 7 series is always so threatening when you're already tied like that as well. So Team Process just I just want to give a shout out to them. I mean, they did so well to get to this point and to absolutely deserve to be happy with second place. They are second place. Ground Zero take a #1 spot for week 2 of the RLO Masters, and it's been an unbelievable night of epic series.
Yeah, definitely. The series have definitely not disappointed tonight. Shout out to our production team for choosing our matches. We've had an amazing bracket unfold between us. We've obviously seen Team Process have a couple of clean sweeps and then have a really tough game in the end. But I'm glad to see that they were able to get themselves on stream and prove that they can really bring themselves relevant into the game. And then obviously we see Ground Zero's journey going through some absolute juggernauts. We had Renegades, arguably, one of the top 4 teams, even like the top 2 teams going against Ground Zero, Direwolves, who were last week's winners, and then obviously finishing the round out with that clean sweep.
Ground Zero maintaining their winter champ status here as they go through and earning those points in the rankings as well, of course. Been a great day. We will sign off now, but thank you for watching again. Tune in this weekend to ESL as well. They've got their regional series happening as well. So some big stuff happening all around OCE, and of course, don't forget to follow RLO. Awesome stuff happening here all the time. Another shout out just to the cast. Awesome stuff in the background here and always making changes for the better. So been a great day. Been awesome working with you, Jupiter, as well. And we'll see you next time. This has been the RLO Masters.